I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to order. I'm Melissa Meli, the spy.
I'm Tyler Riley, cop and a half.
I'm Tristan Miller, the saucy sleuth. We'll talk about it later.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/adcpod and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/adcpod. Anyone reading any new books?
I'm not reading any new books, but I am using Audible as a resource for health as I'm trapped at home. Oh. They have several meditation series that I'm doing one that's pretty solid. They also have yoga, and they also have like workouts that are all just like people like guiding you through them, and all of those have been very helpful. So recommend doing that, specifically the meditation one. I don't know if you've ever done it. It does help calm and center yourself, and I think everyone could use a little bit of that.
No kidding.
Yeah. I've also been listening to the latest Ann Getty's book on Audible. It's very quiet.
Okay. Is she the person who does the babies and the flowers pictures?
Yeah.
She is. All right.
That was the bit.
I once again
it's a picture
have
book.
I gathered that. I once again have been revealed to be an uncultured swine, knowing not of what Tyler speaks, as per usual.
Look, it's Geddes, and if you look up her photos, you can see
Geddes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Getty's.
Take a look at those babies.
Getty's babies. Baby images. Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a quiet book.
Very.
All right.
So, are we talking about your,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't want to be the saucy sleuth anymore. I'm bored, folks.
Okay.
I'm bored
Wow.
of it. I haven't come up with anything better.
Great.
Maybe something like Gumshoe.
Sure.
Just Gumshoe?
No, not just Gumshoe.
Okay.
The Bubble Gumshoe.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. The Glorious Gumshoe. That's a little too self-flagellating.
Yeah. How about
the Horny Hunter?
the Gadabout Gumshoe? The Horny
The
Hunter.
Gadabout Gumshoe. I need to know what Gadabout means first.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Where you pull a pistol often?
No.
Oh, the Gabby Gumshoe. How's that?
Okay. Gabby Gumshoe.
Like Gabrielle Gumshoe?
Yes, to flap his mouth.
Yeah.
Often. I'm doing a puppet motion with my hand for the listeners.
Yeah.
As if, me talking wouldn't also illustrate what speech looks like.
Yeah.
Also, note to PBS, who is our faithful listeners.
Yes, of course.
Gabby Gumshoe, or Gabriella Gumshoe. Really good idea for a children's program.
Yeah, excellent title.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Send it to the Daniel Tiger Inc. or whatever it's called.
I want my boys that did Dragon Tales to hook this up.
Oh, okay. I was not a Dragon Tales child. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Watched
Well,
Arthur...
you, Edward James, almost missed out. Because he was the voice in...
I deduced. Here at Amateur Detective Club, we're often about deductive reasoning, and...
That's right.
But if you have a better idea than Gabby Gumshoe, which does sound like my name is Gabriella, Please tweet at us, please, or post it in the Facebook group, Exerta. But yeah.
Yeah. Tyler and I are totally happy with our names that we've had the entire time, and whereas Tristan has changed already once.
Yeah.
At least
what was
once.
your original name? It was Kid Detective?
Cop.
Kid
And
Cop.
the reason I changed it was because we couldn't have, and we talked about this in the bonus episode, we couldn't have 2.5 cops, and then I started singing the 2.5 men theme, and neither of you understood what I was doing.
No, we understood.
Correct. Well,
Cops,
I mean,
cops,
Melissa
cops. And then Tyler said,
I
John
didn't
Cryer, me a river. And I thought, that's a decent joke. And then I thought, John Cryer, I hardly know her, and I might have said it, but I think I cut it out.
Oh, okay. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah. I've triggered a sense memory. Truly, Stanislavski is just in his grave. Congratulations. Wrong accent.
Yeah. What is a Russian accent, really? No.
A turn on for some people.
Sure.
Like myself.
I was going to say, are some of those people on this call?
I just love, like, an accent where it sounds like you're yelling at me, even if you're not.
Do you like German, too?
I do.
Austrian.
Anything that's like, also, like,
Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay.
there.
You marry a nice
Fascinating.
Jewish boy.
I'm down. Like, my J-Date profile is still up and running. Like, I haven't checked it in a few years, but # willing to convert.
Yeah. You gotta holler at your boy.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. So, what are we talking about today, besides my name?
We are talking about the episode of Agatha Christie.
Every time I do the same thing, Melissa.
So we are watching the episode of Agatha Christie's Poirot, the TV show, called The Mystery of Hunter's Lodge, which is in Series 3, and it's an episode of some number.
10.
10.
11.
It's 11 because
okay.
it's the Series 3 finale.
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so next week we will start Season 4 Series 4 unless we want to take a little break because we're at a, logical break in covering it. We'll discuss later. It's The Mystery of Hunter's Lodge, which is based off of a short story, which first was published in The Sketch in 1923 in the United Kingdom, and then it was republished in the U.S. in Blue Book Magazine, which is often where they were her stories were republished, in 24. And it also appears in Poirot Investigates, which means, Melissa, you and I have listened to this book.
Yeah.
This story, rather.
Yeah.
For once, no recollection.
No recollection. But that's par for the course for me. So you don't remember it either. All right.
2 years ago. It's been a bit.
The title was familiar, and that's how I kind of figured it out, that we had read or listened to the Audible version of this short story. But yes, we did, and it has been expanded. We're in the country in England somewhere, it doesn't matter, and it's very idyllic and also very chilly. There's lots of snow on the ground, and they are hunting. There's a hunting party. They go off and shoot birds, and Poirot sits in a little seat and watches everyone do this.
Yeah, a portable stool. Yeah, which is kind of like a lawn chair with no back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Carries it around everywhere, so he doesn't have to sit on the ground.
Which, correct, I think.
It's fair enough. If you're not a person who wants to sit on the ground, that's...
Yeah.
I mean, he does have very, very snazzy clothing.
Yeah.
So, gotta protect that.
The only reason he's here is because he has a special recipe for... What
Red
kind of
grouse.
Bird? A grouse.
Oh, yeah.
And he is grousing about the weather.
There you go.
But he's not participating in the hunting. Hastings is, and he's like, Hastings, you have to. The recipe requires 5, and he's like, well, I don't. I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get. And he's like, I trust you.
Yeah.
Which is sweet, but like also a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Now,
true.
though, admittedly, the recipe does get made, so that infers that Hastings did do it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of white dudes in coats and hats with guns, and I have no idea who any of them are. They're completely interchangeable.
Let me pull up the IMDb to get the names.
Well, there's Archie.
It's okay. Yes.
There's Mr. Pace.
Right.
Stoddard, the gamekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
Havering, Roger Havering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole Havering family. You have Archie Havering, Zoe Havering, and Roger Havering. Harrington Pace, as you, I believe, said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's all that's out there.
Yeah. Correct.
So, yeah. One of them shoots another one in the face.
Dick Cheney style.
The hand.
Yeah, the hand.
Oh, it's the hand? That's
yeah,
right.
it's absolutely the hand. Because otherwise, if you... I mean, you can shoot a lawyer in the face, but you can't make him drink. Made myself laugh.
Right, I was...
that old idiom.
Of course. It's my favorite one.
Yeah. But you
I was confusing it with Dick Cheney.
Yeah. Which, I often do as well with various moments in my life.
And he seems really upset about being shot in the hand.
Yeah, this is Roger Havering, who gets quite cross about this. He was seen arguing before this with, was it Archie?
No, he was arguing with Stoddard,
Thank you.
the gamekeeper, over money due to him or money that was to be loaned to him so that he could get married to one of the maids in the house.
Right. Yes. So, everybody goes back inside. Zoe goes upstairs and, because she has an earache. Before everybody comes back inside, though. She tells the kitchen staff that she's going upstairs to have a nap and make her ear better. And then everybody comes in, and Poirot is...
cold.
So cold. He comments about how it's such a great English tradition that they make log fires. Mm-hmm. And it does seem very cozy inside.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they all have dinner.
Yes. I also want to note, though, that while they were out hunting, before Zoe left the grounds to return to the house to help prepare or check on the preparations for lunch, she asked Poirot to keep her cousin Archie,
Keep an eye on him?
to keep an eye on him. That's, the way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And Archie is the one that shot Mr. Pace, as we mentioned, and she didn't want him going around sulking.
Sure.
She was like, how could one sulk in the presence of Hercule Poirot? And we're I can think of a few people.
Sure. Yes.
But Archie goes up to Mr. Havering, and Roger, I should call him, I suppose, and apologizes to him. And he's like, I'm so sorry. And Roger's like, I have none of you. Just do better. Just be better.
Yeah.
Please. And then he kind of makes the rounds, saying goodbye to everyone. And he goes to Poirot, and he goes, it's quite, lovely meeting you. I'm going to head off. And Poirot turns to Hastings and goes, one can leave? Which is the most relatable thing, I think, he's ever said. I think we've all been at a party and been like, oh, you can just go?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's great.
Also, whose cousin is Archie? Is it Zoe's cousin?
It seems to be.
Because there's an odd amount of sexual tension between the two. Like, this man literally falls off his bike when she, like, comes out the window just to say goodbye.
Well, I think...
And tripping all over himself, and, like, the way, like, this scene is cut, like, with the way that they're looking back and forth at each other. Like, it was very odd for cousins.
I didn't notice it. I mean, they are in the north of England, and they are well-to-do, so who's to say?
This is in the 1700s.
It's not the Habsburgs. But, you know, just don't... Anyway, but also, that didn't read sexual to me at all. I think he just got startled, and it was to show, like, he's an easily startled man, because he also got startled and shot Roger. He's jumpy.
Yeah, he's a bit clumsy and nervous.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
You can ship whomever you want, Tyler.
I'm not, I want this ship to meet the fate of the Titanic. I'm just saying that a ship exists.
Oh boy. So, we see him getting on a train. Roger getting on a train, right?
Well, we first have the conversation between Zoe and who's getting on the train?
Roger?
Roger, yes.
Her husband.
We see the conversation between those two
Right.
as Mildred apparently needs a ride to the gamekeeper's house.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other... and one of the
also,
servants needs a ride to be dropped off as well.
The Mrs. Middleton.
That's the housekeeper.
Yes,
Yeah.
the housekeeper.
The servant also needs...
Precisely. They both are. And there's a conversation of like, oh, you should just give both of them the lift. It's on the way to the train station.
Yeah. So then Roger gets on the train. We see that happen. There's a whole lot of shadowy figures and music playing, and then there's a murder.
All right. So at the train station, we see someone steal a bicycle
Yes.
as well, and they bike to the home. And then there's a gunshot,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and then they discover that whom
Mr. Pace. Harrington Pace.
has been shot in the face, unlike a lawyer. Like a lawyer, but fatally.
Yeah. He is dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do see a couple of people before the gunshot. We see Mr. Stoddard, the gamekeeper, and then we see this cloaked person as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Both seemingly having guns walking the grounds. We hear the shot, and then we find Mrs. Middleton? Middleton
Yes.
running up to Stoddard for him to call the police.
Right. And Japp arrives and does a little poking around, and then we cut to Hastings, who is tending to Poirot.
That's the case of the flu.
And is
He's a
predicting his own
thermometer.
death.
Yes.
He's very extra about being sick. He seems like the worst patient.
Poirot is in bed, and Hastings decides to take up the case and report back to Poirot.
Yes. Because at first Poirot hears there's a case and like tries to get out of bed, but then Hastings, to his credit, is like, no. You should actually take care of this.
Absolutely.
This isn't worth being the hero. I can handle it. I have it under control.
Yeah.
You know how that all. And he says, besides, I've already got some of my own ideas. Like, oh great, Hastings, good.
My ideas are all the ladies are very attractive, and that's it. That's what I have to do so far.
Classic Hastings. The spin-off of Just Jap. We won't get into that again.
He's a horn dog and he can't help it. He's not very bright at all, but he helps somehow because he's a good foil to Poirot, but on his own, he just cares about cars.
Classic Hastings.
Classic Hastings.
Eventually, he moves to South America with a wife and does some farming, and that sounds pretty nice these days.
Yeah, right.
Actually, does.
So, nice. Yeah, we get Hastings goes back to the lodge, and he talks to the guy at the train station, or does Jap talk to him?
I think...
Jap.
Yeah. But before this, Jap learns through one of his constables or deputies, somebody beneath him,
so anybody.
That the nephew is to inherit.
Yes, because
Roger.
Yes.
There's this very funny sequence where he rolls up and he's like, okay, how many men do we got on this? And the local police officer is like, well, just me. Just we got one guy,
Me and him.
Yeah. It's very, very funny. He's like, well, you better use your resources wisely. And it's that guy that tells him that he's to inherit.
Right.
But
and then we also learn that Stoddard is also a beneficiary, right?
Yes. Stoddard, who they learn, is Mr. Pace's half-brother. But
right.
He's a bastard brother, so...
Right.
Yeah, which makes that quip at the beginning make a lot more sense.
Yeah. So he makes his bastard brother work for him.
Yeah.
Because he's not, legitimate.
But wouldn't you? I'm just kidding.
No, Tyler, I wouldn't. You know why? Because I wouldn't speak to a bastard. Are you kidding me? If I've learned one thing from Game of Thrones, is the CGI is not that good.
I learned that Starbucks is available any place, anytime.
That's right.
Oh my
It exists out of time.
Yeah.
Starbucks has always been with us.
Starbucks is a Time Lord, in fact. It's weird.
On the 8th day. He's like, God was like, okay, we got light. We got water. I need some caffeine.
It's like creating a whole world was a lot of work. I need a little pick me up.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotta get my venti caramel macchiato.
That's the one I was gonna go for.
That's what God drinks.
Enjoy a caramel macchiato.
The caramel macchiato, God's coffee.
Hi, I'm Gabriel. I'm a seraphim, and if you're like me, you're also a seraphim, and you enjoy a chai latte. You gotta keep those wings a flapping and that mind sharp.
Mm-hmm. And then what does Jesus drink? Black coffee, unsweet.
I feel like he's a cold brew dude.
Oh yeah, because he's kind of a hippie.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
Like, come on, bros! Like, let's get together and heal the world. I'm like, okay, Jesus.
You can just do it through love and forgiveness, my guy.
And cold brew.
And cold brew. You got
love, forgiveness, and cold
walking.
Brew. It is. You gotta keep that energy up.
Yeah. Holy Ghost rooibos tea. That's my theory.
Perfect.
And vanilla rooibos, sipping.
Ooh, Holy Ghost.
Ooh.
And Judas just goes for the cake pops.
Yep. Satan is obviously a pumpkin spice. We gotta
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge.
Soy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course Satan's a soy boy beta cuck. Are you kidding me? That's the
So,
whole...
boy, what now?
Beta cuck.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay.
Cuck.
Don't make Tristan explain this.
Me. Yeah. I don't want to have to explain a beta cuck to Tyler.
On our family-friendly podcast.
We'll get to the beta cucks in the Murder, She Wrote episode.
Oh, boy.
Will we ever?
Like, literally, though.
I'm worried now that we didn't watch the same episode. All right, so
now that we know the structure of heaven and hell's Starbucks orders,
I might write it on our collator based off of this. Mental reductress, live a little.
Yeah, right? Why not? So Hastings interviews the housekeeper, Mrs. Middleton. So there's one disguise in Agatha Christie, and it is a trench coat, a hat, and a black beard.
That's so true.
Yep. It's at least the second time we've come across this.
All from Acme products.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Hastings speaks with Mrs. Middleton, who says that someone wearing that exact disguise knocked on the door and she let him in last night.
And then don't they go... What happens next?
Hastings is at the train station to pick up... who's it? From
Roger?
his trip.
Roger
Yeah.
Havering, who is left on business.
Yes.
Okay.
Air quotes around business.
Yes, because it was Harrington Pace that died.
Correct.
Yes.
Then. Okay.
It is hard
These
to tell these
names
white
are
men
just-
apart.
Yeah.
It's just the names
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh. I could tell you, like, by face, but that's not helpful.
Right. That's, yeah.
So...
But they take Roger to Poirot.
Yeah.
Yes, so that Poirot can interview him.
Yeah.
And we learn from the guy at the train station whose bike was stolen that all about the... Oh no, this is later. Just kidding.
So Roger had taken the 6:15 train. He asked if anyone... he took the 6:15 train. He arrived to King's Cross, and then Poirot dismisses him, and then everyone leaves, and then he calls like the front desk of the hotel that they're staying in for a timetable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yes, Poirot gets all that information, and doesn't the guy from the train station also then come to see Poirot?
He does come, but something happens in between then. I think Jap is interviewing the husband and wife, right? Zoe and...
Yeah.
And Roger.
Yeah.
Right, and Roger absolutely is insisting that he not say what he was doing. And basically, at that point, they're like, okay, well, I mean, I guess we got to take you in because you're the only person who, you know...
Yeah.
It seems like... Because the timetable of the train and whatnot, like, it tracks that you could have been there back in time to murder Mr. Pace.
Yeah. You got shot in the face.
Yes, Mr. Pace in the face.
And we also learned that, like, that whoever it was didn't arrive by car because they would have heard a car
Yeah.
in
Yes.
the house. Is Miss Hiddleton missing at this point?
Miss
I can't remember.
Has...
I believe so. She
Yes.
does, she disappears pretty quickly after her initial interview.
Yeah.
Okay.
which,
I just wasn't sure if we had established that they can no longer find her. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's important.
She's pieced out.
Yeah. So, Poirot interviews this gentleman from the train station who talks about his bike getting stolen. And also, is also able to tell him the exact details of all the trains. But it's very important that he needs to get his bike back. Mm-hmm. It's very important to him.
Yes.
So Poirot says he'll do his best.
Yeah.
But then we get interviews with the rest of the staff at the house and the cook, I guess, the one who's going to marry, what's his face?
Stoddard.
Yeah.
Is talking about Mrs. Middleton and how she's very new. She's only been on for a few weeks. But she was kind of a stickler.
Yeah. And she's not the usual person, because this event happens once a year with this family coming together. She's not the usual head of the house, and they have this new person, and it was kind of confusing for them. And she would leave notes rather than give direct instructions to the staff. Yeah. And
so we get an interview with the they track down the agency where Mrs. Middleton was hired from. Mm-hmm. And and they say that Mrs. Middleton was indeed sent there. And so they track down Mrs. Middleton, who is not the same person.
Oh.
Well, because there was, we find that out during a second interview with Zoe and Roger, but in Poirot's hotel room.
Okay. So she says she was hired by the agency, and she goes to meet with the lady of the house, and they said, actually, I don't need you.
Yeah, there's no event.
Hey, why don't you not tell the agency about this? I want to remain in good standing. Here's 2 weeks' salary, or 2 months' salary if you don't work for a month and say you were working here. And she's like, okie doke, and takes the money. Right? Seems like a good deal. And seems like a very reasonable explanation for why this is happening. So, okay. So, the real Mrs. Middleton says, okay, takes the money, and that's all she knows about it. So now we're trying to figure out who the fake Mrs. Middleton is, because clearly this person had been masquerading as the person who was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And you could verify that from the agency that, yes, they sent Mrs. Middleton, right?
Yes.
So next we find, after their interview with the real Mrs. Middleton, that Mr. Roger Havering would like to see Jap, Hastings, and Poirot. So they go down to the police station to meet with him, and he tells them that the reason he could not give his alibi is he was actually betting on a horse, which he promised his wife Zoe he would never do again. And he couldn't say that in front of her.
Yeah. Which sounds like a solid alibi.
Yeah.
And he says that the person that he's paying will, vouch.
Yes, Mr. Quamby, because it was such a bizarre name.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. And then is it the interview with the gameskeeper? I just want to get to this scene.
Yeah.
Tell us about that scene.
It's Joan, and then...
Joan?
They meet with Joan, the intended for Mr. Stoppard. And he asked her more about the Mrs. Hiddleton that worked in the house.
Right.
And they talked about where she was from. It was from a specific county in Ireland.
Mayo. County Mayo.
County Mayo.
I've been there. It's lovely.
Oh.
Oh. Okay.
Beautiful
Nice.
country. Part of the country.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just a reiteration of what we discussed before about her keeping to herself, They find an apron that Mrs. Middleton left behind since she's gone missing, and Poirot takes that.
Yes.
And we find out that when Harrington Pace was in Ireland, he had cheated his business partner from the same county, County Mayo.
And then the best scene in the whole episode happens. They go and speak with Stoddard, the gameskeeper, or groundskeeper, whatever you want to say. I guess it's gameskeeper, because it's about
gameskeeper.
Hunting.
Like
it's
Hagrid.
Hunting. Yes. And he has this beautiful dog. It's a spaniel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very well-trained dog. It's very good at...
Wonderful ears.
Yes. It's not... It's just a normal spaniel, right? It's not a King Charleston because, King Charles spaniel. King Charleston.
I believe it's an English. I believe it's an English Springer English Spaniel. Is what I believe it to be.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But the point is, yes, a beautiful dog, so cute, well trained, can sniff out anything, and then Poirot is like, aha! Now we have this, and so they give the dog the scent off the apron. And then they go out hunting, right?
They have a bag, I believe. I thought it was a bag that they had that they knew to belong to the person who had like the beard and the
yes,
yes.
Poirot had taken the Mrs. Middleton's dress and put it in the bag.
Okay.
Oh, right. I see.
So she,
yeah, because they've deduced that Mrs. Middleton was in disguise because she's gone missing and she's not who she says she is.
Yeah. So the dog just puts her pretty little face in the bag, and then they bring her out to some land, and she makes a beeline for this little specific spot.
Yeah.
And there they uncover the trench coat, the beard, which Hastings demonstrates.
Yeah.
And he's adhering to his face. He's like, we couldn't figure it out.
I do love Poirot has decided, because it's very muddy because it's England, and he is standing on this little outcropping of rocks and letting Jap and Hastings, because they've buried all of these items, and so the dog is digging and Jap is digging and Hastings is digging and Poirot is not.
No, absolutely not.
I could not bother.
Well, he did get himself out of the bed.
Yeah.
He's still he realized, ill. Yeah, he's still ill. But he would not have been digging anyway, let's be honest.
Absolutely not.
So and the hat and the bicycle, they find all of these things.
Yes.
So we found the disguise and we found the bicycle.
Mm-hmm. Should we now break for an ad?
I think so.
Hey everybody, I want to thank you for listening to this episode and any other episodes you've been listening to. I'm supposed to talk about Audible. Once again, audibletrial.com/adcpod. Go grab a book on us. Helps us out. Also, if you like the show, please share it around. Tell your friends, your family, your enemies, whatever. If you don't like the show, tell your enemies and then, inflict great harm upon them by giving them something you don't enjoy. Also, if you listen to this on an iPhone, or even if you don't and you have access to iTunes, please drop us a review and a rating. It does help us bump up and helps the podcast in general.
5 stars is customary.
5 stars is customary, just as 20% is customary if you're tipping, 25 now if you're ordering in. Come on. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram /ADCpod.
Hey man, are you like me and forgot that Mother's Day was yesterday? Well, for just as little as $1 per month, you can act like you already got your mom the gift of donating to the ADC Patreon. For $1 a month, your mom will receive access to bonus episodes and content. At $3 per month, at this level, your mom will receive early access to all the shows plus bonus episodes and content. And if you really, truly love your mom, you'll purchase the $10 per month Patreon exclusive. At this level, you can place an ad for your mom during the show. And you'll receive early access to all the shows, bonus content, and episodes. Check it out.
Oh, son, I love my gift and you so much.
I knew you would, Mom. You love murder.
I do. Stab.
Oh, boy. We are part of the Scavengers Network. Hello, Romeo. Romeo wants to come and tell you about the Scavengers Network. He burst into my room.
Romeo.
Just as I started talking about it. Romeo is my dog, who's not a person. That'd be weird. We are part of the Scavengers Network, which is found at scavengersnetwork.com. They have a bunch of amazing, delightful, entertaining podcasts, such as Myth Takes, Spooky Spouses. We've got Historical Hotties, of course, and we've got lots of content going on right now because we are in a quarantine and we've got to make, I don't know, the internet isn't, makes us feel better. So we can find very exciting things like Colin making a brisket or some Scavengers Network hosts playing some games on the internets.
They do a family game night where they play Jackbox games, and I've done that a couple of times. It's pretty fun.
Jackbox games are always good.
Yes. Back to the show! They're in a literal parlor at this time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, gotta do the parlor reveal in a parlor.
And I'm going to be a little hands off of this because I need this re-explained to me.
Okay. I think I can recall.
I think I have it too. So
okay.
we'll between the two of us.
So.
Once Mrs. Middleton, of course, never existed, as we know. And they talk about how, you know, everybody gets in the car and goes to the train station, and then the bike is stolen from our friend at the train station at King's Cross, and then the murderer, in their disguise, rides the bike to the property, and Mrs. Middleton lets them into the house, where they then, of course, go and shoot Mr. Pace.
Now,
so
it is revealed, and here is my qualm with the thing you said earlier, Melissa.
Oh.
There is more than one disguise in Agatha Christie, because Zoe
that's true.
Havering was disguised as Mrs. Middleton the whole time.
And we get this information because we have our friend the dog sniff inside the bag and find Zoe Havering.
Yes. And also, Roger Havering was accused, and he gets very indignant about it, and he's very, enraged, and he's like, I can't believe you've been, basically, he says, I can't believe you've been treating someone of our social status this way, as if we could possibly be criminals, as if white-collar crime doesn't exist. But and it's basically for the inheritance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They murder for the inheritance. And they are...
That I remember.
Yeah. So, it's pretty weirdly cut and dry stuff.
Right, because
wasn't the reveal, more complicated than it needed to be?
Yes, 100%.
Yes!
Okay, that's where I was just like, I've got to be, missing something, because it just seemed so...
Because what had happened was also because Roger dropped both Mrs. Middleton and also the other...
the other servant off.
Yeah.
It wasn't Joan, was it?
I can't recall.
Okay.
No, it's the woman in the kitchen, the cook, or
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that is like an alibi for Mrs. Middleton.
Right.
And also shows that Roger was also there, and then obviously Roger had that alibi of going to London and then coming back. And they're like, obviously that didn't matter, but also it was fabricated. So
Right. So Mrs. Middleton did drive back on the bike.
Yes. And then quickly buried everything.
Yes.
Yes.
Before coming back in the house.
Yes.
And so we have then, of course, the reveal of that it's Zoe, and that Zoe and Mrs. Middleton were never seen at the same time. Mm-hmm. You always saw one, but not with the other. So
just like
it was
me
her
and Andrew Garfield.
That is true. I've never seen you both at the same place at the same time.
Yeah, never.
Or me and Joaquin Phoenix, which we'll get to later.
Yes, we will.
So yeah, that's who done it. It was both of them. They conspired together, and then Poirot very dutifully makes a big ceremony of taking this bike, which had been buried in the dirt, to the station master or whatever he is, to his house, to return it to him.
I'm sorry, the idea of burying a bike to try and grow a bike entered my mind. I'm hoping to get a Vespa out of this one.
So, they return it. He says, I apologize that I did not have a chance to clean it. And this guy's like, yeah, it's really dirty. Ugh. Yeah. What am I going to do with this? Well, I guess I can get my son or whatever to clean it off, maybe. It doesn't say thank you, and Poirot is very insulted. And that's the end of the episode.
But Jap calls him, it's like, well, it's not appreciated. Welcome to being, a real detective. And Poirot is like, hey, dude, what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then Jap gives him a look like,
come on.
A wink.
Yeah, and then Poirot says to Hastings, well, he has a pretty good sense of humor for a policeman. It's very fun. It's a really, really strong series ending, I think.
Yes.
Because that encompasses absolutely the trio's relationship.
It does. It's great.
Yeah.
So should we get into it?
Yeah.
What'd we think?
I'll give it a 3.5. The half is for the comedy. I thought it was very funny that he had influenza, and it's always funny when somebody has influenza. No, and I thought that was strong. Other than that, the mystery was whatever, and it felt like it was really stretched out from the short story. Like you could tell they're like, oh crap. What do we do? We have to fill 40 minutes.
Yeah. And usually they do a good job with the short stories, but woof.
Yeah, it kind of drug along.
Yeah.
I would give it a 3, also adding a half a point for comedy. For the reasons you mentioned. And, I just felt like if I was watching this kind of, in real time, how the series is supposed to air, let's say, I don't know if that would inspire me to come back for season 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would give it a 3, again, adding the half point for the very good comedy. But it's overwrought. I had trouble. I think it's pretty clear that we had trouble kind of tracking it. It's just, they did too much. It's too much.
I will say, there is a really fun moment with Poirot during the parlor reveal that we forgot to mention, where he's like, you don't believe in magic. I have to tap my cane but 3 times, and then that will make Mrs. Middleton appear. And, that whole thing was very funny and very good and very silly. I very much enjoyed it.
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. My issue with this episode is the bits that were good were, so good. But they were fewer than I would like.
And they were in a subpar episode.
Yep.
The short story is fun. I mean, it's not a terrible mystery. I think I remember the short story being better because it was shorter.
There was that, and then also Hastings doing the investigation was stretched out more.
Yeah.
There was a lot of business. I recall now of him going like back and forth, which was funny, and then also like it was an interesting, refreshing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I think we will have to leave it there for now, and we will come back for season 4.
Yeah.
We're legally obligated to.
Yes, legally, as are the terms of the podcast laws that we have made for ourselves.
I thought it was the club bylaws.
Oh yeah, the club bylaws, that's right. Mm-hmm. Of course. So happy Naked Gardening Day on the day that we're recording this. And I now call this meeting to a close.
Oh, son, I love you!
You're welcome, Mom.